In the warmth of a golden summer afternoon, the Andersons hosted a family gathering that would unknowingly plant the seeds of future bonds and friendships. Laughter filled the air as Albert and Jane Anderson welcomed their friends, Arthur and Jenny Wilson, into their newly rented home. Albert, still searching for a permanent place in the town, was eager to settle down and start a new chapter for their family. As the two couples stood on the patio, the conversation was light, but the bond between them was undeniable. Jane Anderson, holding her newborn daughter Sicil, exchanged happy glances with her childhood friend Jenny. The two women had been inseparable growing up, and their shared joy now as mothers only deepened their connection. "We're still trying to find a property," Albert mentioned, glancing around at the yard that, while charming, didn't quite feel like home. "It's been a bit of a task, but we'll find something soon." Arthur Wilson's eyes brightened, his easygoing nature coming to life with an idea. "Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but the house next door is up for sale. Perfect timing, if you ask me," he said, a teasing smile spreading across his face. "Imagine the two of you neighbors again, just like old times." Jenny and Jane's eyes lit up at the thought. "Oh, that would be amazing!" Jane exclaimed, turning to her husband. "Albert, what do you think? Can you imagine our kids growing up right next to each other?" Albert smiled, the idea growing on him. "It would be perfect. I will ring up the estate agent first thing tomorrow and we'll take a closer look. It might just be the place we've been searching for." As the adults laughed and planned, little Sebastian, a 4-year-old boy with a mop of unruly hair and a serious expression on his face, wandered closer to the bassinet where baby Sicil lay, cooing softly deep in sleep. His fascination with the baby girl was immediate. He stood on his tiptoes, peering in with wide eyes, watching her tiny hands curled next to her face. Sebastian's parents, Arthur and Jenny, noticed the scene unfolding and chuckled softly, exchanging knowing glances. Their son had always been gentle, quiet, and thoughtful, but this particular moment seemed to have captured his attention in a special way. Suddenly, breaking the adult conversation, Sebastian turned to his father with a voice full of determination. "Dad, I love her. May I marry her?" His proclamation, though innocent, carried the weight of a promise that none of the adults had expected. The laughter around the patio paused for a moment, as everyone turned to look at the little boy standing beside the bassinet. Albert and Jane Anderson shared an amused look, and Arthur, stifling his chuckle, knelt down to meet his son's earnest gaze. "Is that so, champ?" Arthur said with a smile, resting a hand on Sebastian's small shoulder. "Well, that's a big question. If you love her and treat her with lots of love and respect, then maybe, when she's all grown up, she might say yes. But first, you need to ask Mr. Anderson for permission." Sebastian's face scrunched in concentration as he thought it through. "Love and respect," he repeated as though committing the words to memory. "I can do that." He turned to Albert, a serious look on his young face. "Mr. Anderson, may I marry Sicil when we grow up?" Albert, barely holding back a grin, crouched down and patted Sebastian on the head. "That's very sweet, Sebastian. You've got my permission, but remember, you have to ask Sicil too, when she's ready." The adults burst into gentle laughter, charmed by the moment, but there was something touching about the sincerity in Sebastian's voice. Even Jane, who now cradled little Sicil in her arms, couldn't help but feel the warmth of the connection forming between the two families. Throughout the gathering, Sebastian remained glued to Sicil's side. He made silly faces to coax tiny giggles from her, and when Jane placed Sicil back in her bassinet, Sebastian reached in to carefully hold one of her tiny fingers. The quiet boy, who usually kept to himself, now seemed completely absorbed in the presence of the baby girl, as though something in him had shifted the moment he saw her. "Looks like we've got ourselves a little romantic here," Jenny teased as she watched her son, leaning into Arthur's side. Arthur chuckled, wrapping an arm around his wife. "Who knows, maybe we're witnessing the beginning of something." The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the yard as the families lingered in each other's company, talking about the future, about Sicil and Sebastian, and the possibilities of the life they would build side by side. I hope you two do move next door, Jenny said, looking at Jane with a warm smile. It would be wonderful, just like when we were kids. Only now with our own families. Jane's smile grew even wider. I couldn't agree more. It's already starting to feel like home. As the warm afternoon breeze gently rustled the leaves, little Sicil, nestled in her bassinet, stirred softly, her tiny face scrunching up before breaking into a delicate, toothless smile. Her big, curious eyes fluttered open and focused on the boy standing beside her. Sebastian, with his unruly mop of hair and serious expression, leaned over the bassinet, gazing at her with pure adoration, completely captivated. Sebastian, his small fingers lightly brushing Sicil's tiny hand, whispered, "Hello, Sicil. It's me, Sebastian." His tone was soft, yet filled with an unexpected sincerity for someone so young. He reached out with his other hand, gently offering his finger to her, unsure of what to expect but filled with a determination beyond his years. To everyone's surprise, baby Sicil responded. Her tiny hand instinctively grasped Sebastian's finger, her soft giggle bubbling up as if she had understood the boy's quiet affection. Her grip was small, but it was enough to make Sebastian beam with pride, as if she too was acknowledging him in her own baby way. Her smile widened, her innocent eyes locking onto his as though she were just as enchanted by him as he was by her. The adults around them paused their conversation, charmed by the moment. Jane, holding her breath in delight, whispered, "Well, would you look at that?" Jenny's eyes sparkled, nudging Arthur playfully. "It looks like she's already fallen for him. I think he's got her wrapped around his finger." Sebastian, noticing Sicil's soft grip, looked up at his father and declared with conviction, "See, Dad, she likes me." Arthur, struggling to hold back his grin, knelt down beside his son. "It seems you've won her over already, champ. Love and respect, remember?" "Love and respect," Sebastian repeated earnestly, as if sealing a pact between the two of them. His heart swelled with pride, believing that in this simple touch, Sicil had already given him her approval. The baby's cooing laughter filled the air, her wide eyes now sparkling at the boy who had captured her attention. In that small but significant moment, it was as if Sicil and Sebastian had shared an unspoken understanding, a connection that neither of them fully comprehended but could feel deep within. Jane and Jenny exchanged glances filled with happiness, the long years of their own friendship now finding a new thread in their children. "I think we'd better start planning the wedding already," Jane teased, though the sentiment behind her words felt like a wish for the future. Jenny laughed, pulling Jane into a warm hug. "Let's focus on moving next door first. I think Sicil's already made her choice." As the gathering continued, the adults' conversations flowed back to house hunting and the future, while Sebastian remained faithfully by Sicil's side, enchanted by her every movement. And with every tiny squeeze of her hand, Sicil seemed to affirm his innocent declaration, as if she too sensed something special in the boy who so gently watched over her. The bond that began with Sebastian's innocent question and Sicil's tiny smile would be nurtured by time, setting the foundation for a connection far deeper than anyone could have imagined that sun-dappled afternoon.